Welcome back to Dagryffyn Hobby. My name's Dave. I've got a little more work done on my upper loop. This past weekend, I was going to spend 2 full days out here in the train room working on the layout. Well, Saturday morning, I ended up going out to Kutztown for the Flash train meet at Renninger's. Glad I did. It was a great trip. If you haven't seen that video, check it out. And then I just had too much to do Sunday to get out here and spend all day. I have, however, gotten a few minutes here and there to work on this upper loop. So let's take a look and see how it's going. In the last update, I had individual pieces up top and it just wasn't working for me. Not only the shape, but it wasn't that stable. So I took a new 4x8 sheet of foam, laid it on top, kind of traced where I wanted it to go, and then did a rough cut. And I'm much happier with this than I was with the multiple pieces that I thought I wanted. This is going to enable me to do a couple things. One, it gives me a little more space for the loop. 2, a little bit more flexibility as far as where the tunnel is going to go for this loop here. On the right side, I brought the foam all the way out to the edge of the layout for that whole corner, so that if I want, I can bring up the mountain formation that's there and bring it all the way up. Not sure what I'm doing yet, but I wanted to have that ability to do that. As I've mentioned in the past, this whole layer is made up of stacked sheets of foam. I wanted to try something different for this layer. So I boxed out the space with this initial shape and then kind of just added pieces here and there to fill out the space. One thing that I'm concerned about is spaces like this, in this corner, up here, and over here, because if I'm carving and I go too deep, I'm gonna hit an open space. I mean, I'm okay with that. I can fill that space in as I go, but it could present a challenge. I still have flexibility with the lower tunnel because these pieces are not permanent. So it gives me the ability to kind of change this whole section if I need to make the whole thing work. After creating the initial box shape, I added layers on. These are all just random pieces of scrap that were left over from other projects. So I just put adhesive on the back, kind of placed it roughly, put a screw in there to hold it, and then I will just start carving and see how it goes. And this is a different method than I've done before, so it will be interesting to see how it works out. The nice thing about the upper loop is I don't have to worry about clearance as much as I do on the lower loops. I'm just not going to run the real big stuff up top. Anything closer to scale is on the outer loop. Anything that's in between traditional and scale be on the inner loop. Mostly traditional O gauge, and then up top will be 027. I like that because that gives me not only an excuse to run different types of equipment, but also, you know, I'm not tailoring the whole layout to one specific type of train. I don't have the design of the upper loop set yet, but I have an idea and I have the bounds with which it needs to lay inside of. So I think this next step is to do a rough carving of this part of the foam and kind of just see how it works and how it progresses. Just because it seems like a decent spot to start, I'm gonna start here and go this way, see what happens. Now, when it's real deep, like this curve here, I can't make the full depth with this hot wire cutter. So I'll do a quick preliminary cut, put that in the scrap pile, and go back. And this is still a rough cut. I'm not too concerned about it lining up. As long as it's close enough, then when it comes time to do some more detailed carving, I can just scrape away at it. With this passive trimming, I want to make the cuts pretty much vertical I don't want to cut too much into this top layer because I want to have the most amount of room possible for when I actually do lay out that upper loop, or upper loop. Now you might think, why did I cut the upper piece so much bigger that I have to cut off all these smaller pieces? Isn't that a waste? Yes and no. It's not the most economical use of the foam, but for the way that my brain works with this process, I kind of look at it as creating an abstract painting, and that I'm going to just kind of see how it develops and let the shapes kind of present themselves. So in order to do that, I need to have enough canvas to work with. I would like to add more detail work in here, but I have very little clearance between the track and here, and I don't want to make it any tighter than I have to. So for the time being, I'm still considering this my first draft cut, so I can always, add a piece and then cut it down later. And some of these cuts I'll do now, and some I'll just kind of wait until I'm carving it with a blade. Now with this space here, I'll probably cut this way back, but like I said, until I figure out exactly where the track is going, I don't want to limit myself. So if need be, I can put more foam in here and bring this wall down kind of at a little bit of an angle so that I have clearance, but also enough surface up top. And some of these pieces will get almost completely carved away. I need them there now to, have something to carve in the first place. As it stands at the moment, I definitely have clearance issues through here. So most of this is going to get carved off. At this point in the process, there's still a lot of hard lines, like here and here, here, and then this flat surface. All that will be dealt with when I get in here with a knife and start shaping and texturing. So for the moment, I really think this is as shaped as it's going to get. I'll do a little bit more before packing it in for the night. Now this is one of the spots I could run into trouble if I cut too deep. And that's not something I thought about when I started with this design. So that'll be interesting to see how that works out. I know I don't want the tunnel coming as far as this, so I'm going to cut it a little bit further. Now with this part of the process, it's usually good to stop before you think you should, at least for me, because I get into cutting and then realize I've cut too much off. Worst case scenario, I cut this too far back, I can't fit the track, I can just replace it with another sheet. I'd rather not, because these foam sheets aren't as cheap as they used to be, but I won't necessarily be backed into a corner, so that's nice. Everything here I can start over with if I need to. There is foam that I used at the very beginning of building this layout that I had removed, and I'm still using it as I go. I've saved almost every piece of foam. every scrap. What I haven't saved is some of the really fine pieces that get vacuumed up. I haven't saved those, but I do probably have 2 large garbage bags filled with very small scrapings. So I have plenty to work with. I've kept almost all of it, and I've reused a good deal of it. And even if I do have to take this off and cut a new piece, I will still end up using this foam for another part of the layout. Now, there are a couple spots that obviously the clearance is an issue, but I can take care of that once I start scraping it and shaping it at that point. So I think this rough cut, for now, is done. I don't know that it's going to fit, but we might as well see if a train will pass. Couple of tight spots, but it fit. Obviously, this is got to be my smallest engine with a couple of traditional sized box cars, but it cleared, so that's a great place to start. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time on Dagryffyn Hobby.